Do any of you ever feel as though you have no time left for yourselves? Whether it's homework, test prep, sports, volunteering, or even speech and debate, our schedules are crammed with commitments and responsibilities, but little time remains for rest or enjoyment. At this point, I'm convinced free time is a myth, like Bigfoot or an 8-hour night of sleep. But when exactly are we supposed to make space for the things we truly enjoy, or to find out what our passions even are? Increasingly, it feels as though our scholastic accomplishments are what define us, rather than who we are as people. We've created a culture where students like us chase the perfect resume so relentlessly that little time remains for rest, self-discovery, or even just simple enjoyment. And the cost of this imbalance, our mental health, social connections, and ultimately, our true sense of identity and belonging. Like many of you, I've fallen into a pattern of complete imbalance and constant stress. A couple months ago, I arrived home from school, drained, hungry, and already behind on 3 assignments, despite working every night until midnight and all weekend. I told myself that I'd take a quick 5-minute break to decompress before starting my work. I lied down on my bed and began to scroll through my phone, promising myself that I'd get up any second. Before I knew it, I woke up 3 hours later, backpack fully untouched. And instead of feeling well rested, the first emotion I felt was outright panic. My heart was racing and I couldn't catch my breath. All I could think was great. Now I'm even more behind and I'm too tired to pull another late night. I felt like a complete failure. How would I get into a great college now or have any chance of success? I was so mentally exhausted that I couldn't even think rationally. A full-blown panic attack. But my experience isn't unique. It reflects something much bigger that's occurring across schools nationwide. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 40% of American high school students have reported persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness, and over 20% have seriously considered suicide in the past year. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're classmates, teammates, and friends. So what's fueling this growing crisis? Well, one of the leading causes of this mental health decline is chronic overwork combined with lack of rest. In fact, researchers at Columbia University found that insufficient sleep amplifies negative emotions, lowers motivation, and heightens anxiety, creating a cycle that's very difficult for students to escape. It's no surprise that schools filled with high achievers are now considered at-risk environments for mental health. And if you think about it, it's not hard to see why. When was the last time that you sat down on your couch and truly enjoyed a movie without feeling stressed or anxious about all the schoolwork that you had to complete? When was the last time that you read a book that genuinely sparked your interest? When was the last time that you actually felt relaxed? Personally, I can't recall experiencing any of these moments in the past 2 years. After a full day of school, there was always a ton of work to complete and plenty of activities to participate in. Oh, and weekends, they're also packed with studying for tests, competing in sporting events, and finishing school projects. There's no time for sleeping in, no time for hanging out with friends, and no time for going to the awesome parties that we see in nearly every coming-of-age movie. This pressure-filled routine quickly becomes a cycle, one that feels impossible to escape. By the time that I finally lie down on my bed on the average school night, it's already 11:30 p.m. And in an effort to reward myself for working so hard and to distract myself from my stress, I often end up doom scrolling on TikTok. You know it's bad when even your For You page starts telling you to go to sleep. Only then do I attempt to sleep, knowing that I'll have to wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning to complete the same routine all over again, but while being even more exhausted than the day before. At this point, I could list sleep deprivation as an extracurricular activity. And I know that I'm not the only person stuck in this pattern. For many teenagers, lack of sleep has become the norm rather than the exception. According to Stat News, over 2/3 of adolescents fail to get even the minimum 8 hours of sleep on school nights. And the CDC reports that teenagers who get less than 8 hours of sleep are almost twice more likely to feel sad or hopeless compared to those who get enough rest. Even more alarming, over half of adolescents that are diagnosed with sleep insomnia also have another psychiatric disorder, such as depression or anxiety. This isn't just about being tired, it's about a full-scale mental health crisis fueled by exhaustion and pressure. As overworked teenagers, we must begin to value our sleep and downtime more seriously. Instead of cramming our schedules to the brim with extracurricular activities and leaving zero room left for relaxation, we must begin to strike a healthier balance between achievement and rest. Allowing ourselves time to recharge is not wasted time. In fact, it benefits us by improving our mental health, increasing our focus, and helping us perform more effectively in school. In fact, Columbia Psychiatry found that even modest improvements in sleep quality can dramatically boost concentration and emotional resilience, proving that rest is not a weakness, but a performance tool. So if your schedule looks more crowded than a Starbucks at 8 a.m., it might be time to slow down and rethink some commitments. But health and performance are only one piece of the puzzle. Overcommitment doesn't just rob us of our rest, it robs us of living in the present. As high school students, we often feel immense pressure to do everything possible to secure our future success. At first glance, this determination may seem admirable, and in many ways it is. Hard work and academic focus are undeniably important, yet in the midst of striving for achievement, we often forget the value of living in the present. We're so busy building our future selves that we barely have time to be our current selves. These 4 years of high school are quite brief. If we devote every moment to preparing for the future, we risk looking back with regret, wondering why we never allowed ourselves to fully embrace being young. We'll graduate with great resumes, but no meaningful memories or lifelong friendships. So yes, work hard, pursue excellence, and take your academics seriously, but also give yourself permission to play hard, to laugh, and to have fun. We must begin to normalize the idea that joy and balance are not distractions from success, but essential parts of it. Because nobody looks back fondly and thinks, wow, I really loved junior year, where I got 4 hours of sleep on average, had no social life, and was stressed out of my mind. After all, is life not meant to be lived with a sense of enjoyment? And perhaps the most overlooked consequence of this imbalance is its effect on self-discovery and finding one's identity. When I ask my classmates what they enjoy doing in their free time, I often receive a recitation of impressive clubs and activities that they participate in. Yet when I follow up by asking about hobbies or passions that they truly enjoy, I'm often met with a blank stare. We've gotten so good at selling ourselves on applications, but many of us don't even know who we truly are. This lack of exploration has caused many to struggle with developing a genuine sense of identity. However, according to a 2024 review in Frontiers in Psychology, students who explore more hobbies and creative outlets are significantly more likely to develop strong self-concept and long-term purpose. Conversely, those who measure self-worth only by external achievement show higher rates in imposter syndrome and burnout. This proves that rediscovering ourselves isn't just possible, it's necessary. Too often, teenagers let their achievements and accomplishments define them, rather than their personal qualities, true passions, or even the roles that they play as friends, siblings, and family members. To address this, we must begin to normalize and encourage the process of self-discovery. Ask yourself, what are your true passions in life? What brings you genuine joy? And how do these qualities shape who you are? By reflecting on these questions, we can begin to cultivate originality, embrace our individuality, and build a stronger sense of self. And maybe that's the real measure of adolescent success. Not how many activities we can fit into a single week, but how deeply we understand ourselves along the way. So tonight, when you finally close your laptop, ask yourself this: am I really living, or am I just performing? Because life isn't meant to be a checklist of accomplishments. It's meant to be experienced, felt, and remembered. Success should not come at the cost of our health, joy, or sense of self. We are more than our transcripts and resumes. We are writers, artists, athletes, musicians, dreamers, and friends. Let's give ourselves permission to breathe, to rest, and to rediscover ourselves beyond our achievements. Because when we begin to value our well-being as much as our success, we won't just live better, we'll live fuller. And who knows, maybe we'll even get a good night's sleep while we're at it. Thank you.